Hi. Guys, do you remember the time that you migrated from wherever you were coming from Nigeria, South Africa, Zimbabwe, from Kenya, Uganda, and you were saying, I'm migrating to a Western nation? Do you remember the moment? Many of us, we remember. We will never forget the time because it was a goal we achieved and we were excited, very happy that we are moving to greener pastures. And what I've noticed is many of us, we didn't think we were going to stay here for longer. We thought we were coming here and we are going to make money and we're going to build businesses back home. And in a few years, we'll go back rich people and inspire the nation and do a lot of things back in our countries. But now, years down the line, where do you stand in that vision? I have in studio today joining us via video link from Africa. I've got somebody who made the bold move to actually relocate from Australia back to Zimbabwe. So stay tuned. So Kudzi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, Kudzi, I've been following your story on YouTube, and I was inspired, should I say? And a lot of us here in the diaspora, we're wishing to go back home, but we
Yeah,
talk about it, we don't actually do it. You are one of those
I
few
know.
people that have actually did the practical. You've gone back, and I'm gonna leave it to you.
hmm
Just introduce yourself
hmm
to your people.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm Kazini Komapia, and I recently come back to Zimbabwe, which is my home country, after living in Australia for 17 years with my family, my husband, and my two kids. And yes, I'm currently navigating life in Zimbabwe.
Hmm. Awesome. So, how long did you live in Australia?
17 years.
17 years. So, what
Yeah.
made the move? What made you decide to go back to Zimbabwe?
Yeah. I love what you said before that, a lot of people overseas, they always want to go back home and we always talk about it. So that was like me exactly. Like I always wanted to come back home. I've always been talking about it for the longest time. But then
Mm.
I think, um, the actual like catalyst for me to make the move was like we lost someone very close in our family, and I hadn't lost someone that close in as long as I can remember, and it was just experiencing that process from overseas and wishing I was back home. And then it really like made me think, what is actually stopping me from moving back home? If I want to be back home right now, like what is actually standing in my way? And the more I asked myself that question, I saw that I can make the move. Like if I want to be there, let me just go. And there were also other factors like throughout the years, like just that longing to be back home, like to connect with back home. Because, sometimes we go overseas, and I love Australia. Like Australia is my second home. So I love Australia, but there are times where you just feel like you're missing out on life in Zimbabwe as well. And you're like, okay, I love Australia, but I also want to be in Zimbabwe. So, like, why don't I just go and experience life there? Because my husband and I had been wondering, like, what would our life be like in Zimbabwe? Like, if we were like, because we met each other in Australia, and yeah, we wanted to see what it's like.
So, quick one. Is your husband from
Yeah,
Zimbabwe too?
yeah, he
Ah,
is.
okay. So
Yeah.
how did you okay, the idea of going back to Zim, was it your idea, was your
Mm-hmm.
husband idea, or it was just the
Mm-hmm.
beauty of it, like the two of you kind of
Yeah,
linked up
yeah.
and you all had the same vision?
Yeah, yeah. So I think initially it was like for the longest time it's been my husband's idea. Like I wasn't completely sold on the idea. Like I was on and off, like sometimes yes, sometimes no. But in recent times it was like we kind of got onto the same page. like we used to be like, let's go, let's not go, let's go, let's not go. And then we reached a point where we're just like, we're all on the same page, feeling the same things about wanting to come back home. And the stars just aligned, and they're like, cool, we're on the same page now, and we'll go. So it's something that kind of evolved. I can't say like a particular like time like it happened here. It was just like in the conversations just kind of changed as it being an idea to it being an action, like talking about, so what do we actually need to do for us to go back home, and then like having those conversations. Yeah.
Wow. How about kids? How did you manage to navigate with the kids?
Yeah, so yeah, with the kids, I think it was pretty simple with the kids because it was mainly my son who's 9 now, so he was the one who could understand more, and he's such a mature little soul. So
I've seen
he's
him.
always
He
loved.
does.
Yeah, he's like a little old man. So he's very mature for his age. So we have the conversations with him and say like from the time we started seriously considering like coming to Zimbabwe, we included him in the discussions, in the plans, and got his thoughts, and he was excited because he's been to Zimbabwe before. He wanted to connect with his family, with his cousins, and yeah, so he was on board. He was excited, and just knowing that he was a Zimbabwean and he could get actually a chance to now live in Zimbabwe, like he's Australian and Zimbabwean, so to experience life on the other side, like it was exciting for him. So yeah, it was pretty simple.
Wow. Now, on that, is your son fluent in the language in Shona or in Ndebele?
In Shona, not at the moment. Like he's learning. Since we've moved, which was at the end of last year, like he now can speak in Shona. He can understand more. Like if you talk to him in Shona, he can understand most of the things you're saying, and he can also speak Shona. He's not yet fluent, but I can say if it's a percentage, he's kind of like 50, maybe between 40 and 50% Shona speaking.
That's
Yeah.
really good. Had you been taking your son back to Zim like often before you eventually make the move? Yeah.
I wouldn't say often, but he had come before. So he came when he was 1 and he can, hardly remember. And he also came again when he was 4, and he remembers bits and pieces of that trip. So yeah, he's been twice before.
Yes. So let me tackle this one. Yeah, because one of the things is that stops us from actually moving is financial. Because you're thinking, when I go back to Africa, am I going to have the lifestyle that I've been having? In Australia, we have got our
Yeah.
electricity, you've got our water.
Yeah.
If you need a car, you go get a mortgage,
The
a car
conveniences.
loan, and drive whatever. You can have a mortgage for your house. You can do. But now going back,
Yeah.
those things are not available in many African countries. I'm sure in Zimbabwe you don't have the privilege to get a mortgage and blah blah, credit card and all that.
Yeah.
Would you say financially that was an easy decision, or you had to like give in to some of the things that we have, the flashy things we have in the Western world?
I think financially, that was one of the biggest considerations, like what it looks like financially. I think having been in Australia for a long time, we had taken advantage of many opportunities financially in Australia, and we thought that we could afford to move back. And moving back, and this is something that I just want to highlight for everyone who plans to move back. Moving back, like you will incur some financial losses, like because you have to give up some things, you have to pay a lot of money for other things. So the move itself is quite expensive. But I know that in Australia, people get paid a lot of money, and a lot of people will be surprised how much they can afford to move back home. I think there's a lot of like fear way, and I'm talking from experience, that because when we think about moving back home, we just think, oh my goodness, it's going to be so expensive. How much is it going to cost? That we don't actually sit down and crunch the numbers and see what we have to do. So that's something my husband and I did. And my husband's got an accounting background, so he's like the accounting brain in the family. So he crunched the numbers. Like, we've got spreadsheets on spreadsheets and spreadsheets for our move to Zimbabwe. And when we started to see that, we can actually make it happen with the money that we have available, we decided to make the move. And things become so much simpler once you make a decision. I think a lot of people get stuck in they're debating whether they should or not. Once you are set on something, you make a way. Like, you find a way, you start aligning everything towards that goal. And once we started to do that, we started saying, okay, this is what we want to do. And we started just pushing all the finances towards that, and yeah, made it happen. And we're just like, in terms of Australia, like, basically, if anyone has lived in Australia for 17 years, like, we're basically on similar financial levels. Like, there's nothing extraordinary that we did financially, and just except for make good financial decisions and some bad ones, but more good ones along the way. Yeah.
Wow. I know that I'm saying that because everybody I've spoken to, they say, man, I'm not going to go. If you're going back, you have to make sure that you've got a lot of money, you've got a lot of businesses. And I don't know if we're ever going to actually all of us achieve that goal of having businesses and money, then we can move. I'm not sure if all of us are going to do that. But that's what everybody says. Have money, have businesses,
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that you said that, because I think that's a major block for a lot of people. The fact that they feel like they need to have so many things set up before they move. But I feel like you need to move to set things up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Make the
and
move.
I think exactly, make the move. And people have this definitive mindset when it comes to migration, whether you're migrating to another country or you're coming back. They've got this definitive mindset, which says, if you're moving to Australia, you have to move to Australia and stay there forever. Or if you're moving back home, you have to move back home and stay there. Like, if people are a bit more open-minded to say, you know what, you can come and assess, you can come and see, you can have a gradual move, or you can do the cold turkey big leap, like, not say that once you're there you have to be there. And that's one of the things that freed my mind up to be able to move back, knowing that I can always move back to Australia. Like, I don't need to stay here forever. And it's something that frees up your mind to other ideas and to do things differently, to know that you've got options, and keep your options open.
So are you planning moving back to Australia?
Well, I think that for me, moving back to Australia, like, I've always kept that door open, like, to say that I can move back. But I think for that, I want to live, because I value freedom. I don't want to be confined to a country. Like, for so many years while living in Australia, my mind was confined to Australia. Like, I have to just live here and make it work here. But recently, I've just opened up my mind to say, like, I can live in Australia and I can live in Zimbabwe. I can live in whichever country I want, like, at any point. If I say, okay, I want to spend the next 8 months in Zimbabwe, or I want to spend the next 8 months in Australia, I can just go and do that and then come back. Like, it gives me so much freedom, which aligns with my personality. I'm someone who loves freedom. So, like, just saying I'm just going to be here or be in one location, I think it has been hard on my mind for a long time. Yeah.
Wow. So I have to ask this one. I'm sure some of the viewers want to know this. Do we have load shedding at the moment in Zim?
So there is load shedding happening. Like, I'm like off grid. Like, like solar is my main source of power, so I don't notice power cuts. I've never experienced a power cut since I've been back to Zimbabwe because we've got backup. Like, we live pretty much primarily on solar. So I hear that people have no electricity, but I experience it when I visit other people, but not in my house. Like, I always have power. So yeah, it's there, but not here in the house. Yeah.
Well, I must say, from what you're saying, I believe you must have really planned this move very well. Because if you can live
Yeah.
off grid fully, and you don't
Yeah.
actually see the power cuts that happens in most parts of Africa, then I think that's one thing, one tick, obviously,
Yeah.
that I would also need
Yeah.
when I'm moving.
Yeah, I had some non-negotiables
Oh
when I
yeah.
was moving. I'm like, I can't, like, I don't want to experience cuts or water cuts. And I want good internet. I didn't ask for much. Like, those were mainly the things that I wanted. I want free flow of electricity and water and internet so that I can just do the things that I'm used to doing. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I
those
must
were
say,
some of the things.
wow, that's good. I must say to the viewers that are actually watching right now, I'm streaming Kuzi live from Zimbabwe and he's using internet. Sometimes people believe in Africa you have no internet. It's like they
Yeah.
think like it's a dump. There's nothing over there. But Kuzi is actually streaming live
Yeah.
from Zim with internet that can
Yeah.
be even faster than some of the other countries. Like here in Australia, internet is becoming really slow. So Africa is not as bad as what people think.
No, Africa is definitely not as bad. And that's one of the things that I would love to show people through my channel, that Africa is not as bad. It's funny that, when I moved back, I was talking to, one of my close relatives, like on a video call one day, and they said, like, how come you still look the same? And I'm like, what did you expect to see? Like, they expected to see me looking crusty and dusty and nasty. And I'm like, no, like, it's not the same things. Like, I look the same, like everything's the same. I do the same things, but people expect that when you move back home, you're gonna be looking like you're on the struggle bus. I don't know, but I don't know. It's the same.
No.
People live very good lives here and better lives than a lot of people in Australia, I must say.
I agree with you because I've been also to other few countries in Africa, not just Zim, but I've noticed that there's many people that's living really good in Africa. Now I'm gonna ask you.
Absolutely.
Power was one of the things that I obviously struggled even when I'm visiting back home, and water. The other thing that I've struggled with, which I still struggle with now, is just the culture sometimes of the people. Like when you're looking for services, you're going to the supermarket, you're going to the shop, you're going to government departments, you're going to the police on the road, all that. As a person who lived in Australia for 7 years, have you adjusted to be able to function fully in that environment?
Like, I think I adjusted before I came here. I knew that if I was going to come here and survive, there was a certain mindset that I needed to have. I've noticed that a lot of conversations that happen about Zimbabwe, whether in Australia, anywhere outside of Zimbabwe, is very much focused on the struggles and the challenges. And I just stopped participating in those conversations. And I'm like, I can't, if I'm going to survive, I can't be focused on challenges. I have to have a positive mindset. So yes, I'm stopped on the side of the road by police. I've had, bad service delivery. I've had all those things, but it hasn't really dulled my experience because I was born and raised in Zimbabwe. Like, I'm very familiar with what life is like here. I've been visiting home, so I know. So I wasn't ignorant and expecting Australia level service delivery. I knew exactly what I was walking into, and I just had to prepare myself.
Well, it makes sense. What I normally tell people is when I travel to Africa, I leave Australia at the airport. When you see me in the village and you
Yeah.
see me when I reach Harare International
Yeah.
Airport, I am a Zimbo by everything in me. I change.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not gonna scream at the shopping center like, why is this not going in front of
Yeah.
me? I also do the same because
Yeah.
that's again. So
Exactly.
I think the attitude has got to change. Definitely, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely. Hmm.
yes. So
You have
are
to
they
change your attitude.
good? Are there things that you miss about Australia? That you think
Yes.
you can't get them like in Zim or in Africa, but you're like, if
Yeah.
this was brought to Africa, that would be it. Are there some things? Yeah.
Yeah. I think just good service delivery. Like just
Okay.
people having good service delivery and valuing the customer and knowing that, valuing the customer's business, and also online shopping. Online shopping, like Amazon Prime, like just having things delivered to my door within days of me buying them online. Yeah, I miss that.
Are you still able to do some kind of online shopping?
Like, I haven't even tried. It just seems too hard. Like, I've seen avenues where you can do it, but then they charge a premium for you to get those goods. Like, someone can do it for you and then they charge a premium. Like, you can do online shopping within Zimbabwe, but when you're looking for products outside, like, someone usually has to go get them for you, and then they charge a certain amount of money to do that, which is like sometimes not worth it, because when you're doing online shopping, it's usually for convenience and good pricing.
Yeah.
Now price is bumped up to a premium, like you're just like, it's not worth it. So I haven't even tried. I haven't tried. I'm just like, I'll just deal with what I have.
I'm just thinking about some of the people not doing with the Shein and Amazon.
Ooh. That's a hard life for some people. But I think, you know what? I just recently been to South Africa, like a few weeks ago. South Africa is right next door. And all the things like service-wise, convenience-wise that I had in Australia, you have them and more right next door in South Africa. So if you miss that, just go to South Africa. Come back in a few days and you have everything you want.
Wow,
Yeah.
I like that point, but South Africa is right next door, and I believe even some other countries. Let's say you are not really in Zimbabwe. There's always a country next door that may have the services that you want. So, like you said in the beginning, it's just you give and take, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, when I was in Australia, there were so many things I missed about Zimbabwe. And so I know that if you're going to move, you're going to lose some things. You're going to miss some things. Doesn't matter wherever you are in the world. Like, it's just not only Zimbabwe. People focus it on, like, in Zimbabwe, you're going to lose so much or miss so much. In Australia, people, like you said, people are wanting to come back home for good reason. There's so many things they miss about Zimbabwe. So it goes both ways.
Okay. This one I'm not going to ask you to give me the exact location, but you mentioned that you are off grid. Are you off grid in the CBD in Harare? Are you off grid in another city, or how far are you from the usual, the center of attraction?
Yeah. I don't live in Harare. I live outside of Harare. I live about an hour out of Harare in a rural area, classified as rural. It's on a farm, like in rural Zimbabwe somewhere. So it's not
About
in
an
the
hour.
city at all. It's about an hour. Like, we actually have, like, in rural areas they've got sabuku. We actually got a sabuku here.
Oh, villages.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
So having said that, for me, I've actually watched your video when you mentioned about how you're managing with your son in the place that you are. Obviously,
Yeah.
if you guys want to watch the actual video, check Kuzi's channel. I think I will link the channel down below and some of the videos that's
Thank
really of
you.
interest to me
Yeah.
too. But if you can talk a little bit about that, because I think that's another thing that
Yeah.
people can find it challenging. You are in Zim, you're not actually in the city, but you've got your son who is actually going to school. How is the dynamic going there?
Yeah. So for me, I homeschool my son. So he learns here on the farm, and then he has extracurricular activities in the city because it's only an hour away. So like 2 days a week we go in the city, and he does like his swimming, his piano, his violin, his dance, and we come back on the farm. So I think he is like getting the benefits of city life. He's just not permanently located in the city. And my parents live in the city, so I'm always there as well. So you can always. It's like Gold Coast and Brisbane. Like you're in Perth, right? But I'm from
Perth,
Brisbane.
yes.
Like think of an area that's outside of Perth, just an hour away, and how convenient it is just to drive. Like I was in Brisbane, and we just could drive to the Sunshine Coast or to the Gold Coast. It was an hour away, so it's just the same. And some people work an hour away from home. So
Okay, that makes sense. I don't want to keep you too long. I think at some point I might call you to come back on the show and say a few more other items, or maybe if you allow me, when I pay Zim a visit, I might come into a podcast at your farm and see how things are going. So
no, that would be great.
I just want to ask you one thing. This question, somebody else gave me this one for you, if you can help them out. How is the return resident thing when you've got a car, you've got so like some kind of items to bring over with you? How is that going? How is that process? Like just briefly.
Yeah. So for me, I didn't do that process. The reason I didn't do that process is I didn't have a valid Zimbabwean passport, which I now do have. So I believe if you've got a valid Zimbabwean passport, and like you can do that. So I didn't like my stuff is in storage in Australia, so I didn't do that yet.
Okay. So having said that though, I think you covered a lot of things on your channel, which I believe I think the people watching, I would highly advise them to go and watch some of your videos, because we just said about having a passport. And I was watching your video when you talked about the process of the dual citizenship in Zimbabwe,
Painful.
passport, and all that. I went through it. I'm like, I understand what Kuzi is talking about. It's hard, but at least you actually have it now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone should. If you're a Zimbabwean, like if you've got an Australian passport, you've got Australian citizenship, like you should definitely also make sure that you've got your Zimbabwean citizenship. Because why not? I think I left it too long, and I would advise people not to do what I did, to leave it too long. Like as soon as you can, just make it happen.
Yeah, I'm
It'll
not
make
gonna
life
comment.
simpler.
I'm not comment. I want everybody to go watch that video, because you did give us a lot of detail in that video. Yes. So thank you, Kuzi. I want you to speak to somebody who is contemplating moving, maybe not necessarily to Zimbabwe only, but maybe they're African, they want to go to Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, and they're like, I don't know. Can you inspire them, or can you speak to them as somebody who has actually done it?
I think I'd say to those people who are still contemplating the idea of moving back somewhere in Africa, that like just open up your mind and make sure that you have something to fall back on. Like if you're in another country and you don't have citizenship in that country, I would advise to maybe pursue that so that you have something to fall back on. Because one of the things that limits people is the idea of being stuck. Okay, what if I go back? What if I go there and I don't like it? Like, what am I going to do? Like if you give yourself options to say, I can always come back here, I've got options. Once people are free of that stress of being stuck, it's amazing what you can do. Like you can move anywhere in the world. Like for me, I've got ideas of living in other places that I love, like not just Zimbabwe, because I'm like, why not? Like, why not just go and live in Bali for a year? Or why not live in Thailand for a year? Like, you can live anywhere in the world. I love Kenya as well. Like, I would love to live in Kenya for a little bit. So, just know that you can do whatever you want, and just make sure you've got some options open, that you don't get stuck. And if things don't work out, you don't get stuck and have nothing, like nowhere to turn. Make sure that you've got doors open. Like if you've moved to another country, migrated to another country, maximize that by getting the citizenship if that's available to you. And then
Wow.
that'll free up your mind.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Kuzi. I know I've got a lot of things that I want to discuss with you, but I will leave it for now. And time allowing, we have another longer podcast. Probably, maybe we can go live and get people ask you questions. To tell us
That would be
exactly how
great.
things are going. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today, Kuzi.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. I always love sharing my thoughts with other people and encouraging people who want to come back home. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much for joining us. And here was Kuzi all the way from Zimbabwe. So I will leave Kuzi's channel on the comments section down below. Please go subscribe, go watch Kuzi's videos. She has got so much information about the things that we talked about today. So again, on Summers TV, we celebrate Africa. Thank you. Have a good one.